besties, welcome back to my channel. And hi if you're new, I'm Melissa and I make fashion, beauty, and lifestyle content here on this channel. I was talking to my therapist last week and we realized that I had been seeing her for a year now. I've seen her every week for the past 52 weeks of the year. I didn't think I had changed a ton in this past year until we looked at my intake form and we read all the symptoms that I had, and then we realized I had come such a long way in just this short year. I hope something or any part of this can be helpful for you if you're needing to hear any of this. We'll call this trickle-down therapy, so let's jump right into it. The first thing I've learned, that self-care is not selfish, it's a necessity. I used to think that self-care was just like, oh, I put a face mask on, or oh, I went for a walk, but it is so much more than that. It's really all the behaviors and actions that you're taking, and even thoughts that you're having, to take you from where you are to where you want to be. So if you're super tired, you may just need a rest day, or if you're feeling super anxious, maybe you need to go into your toolbox and do some soothing self-care, maybe light a candle, do a mindfulness session. Whatever it is that you need to do to feel better, self-care is so tailored to the person. It is so different for each and every one. And when I'm thinking about self-care, I did learn about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm pretty sure it's called. If you didn't know, I got my first degree in psychology, so I should remember more than I do. But I will link an article down below that goes over the hierarchy of needs, because the most basic need that we have is air, water, food, safety, shelter, things like that. And so it helps me kind of think about what I need if I'm lacking something on the different steps of the pyramid. So again, I'll link it down below so you can read more about it. The article explains it way better than I did just here. But that has been super helpful for me this past year. Number two is that boundaries help relationships, they don't hurt them. My therapist actually told me that a better fence makes a better neighbor, and it's so true. I like to look at boundaries as kind of the groundwork and stepping stones and basically structure of your relationship with someone, and I think it really empowers us to have better relationships with people. It's been really hard for me to speak up in the past and tell people what I need out of a relationship or what my non-negotiables are, so I really had to practice and start with really small things, and it honestly gets easier. And normally when I'm having to like reinforce a boundary, it typically has gone better than I thought it would for the most part. There are a few people in my life where it did not go well, and they are currently not in my life anymore because they were not respecting my boundaries. So that part is a little bit sad when you have to stay true to yourself. Sometimes that means not having relationships with people who constantly break those boundaries because they do not respect them. But when you are building really healthy relationships with people, those boundaries are a great way to do it, I've learned. Number three is that change is possible. I'm not stuck in the depression even when it pulls me in. It's crazy to think about how far I've come, because I went from a place where I could barely get out of my pajamas. It was really hard for me to brush my teeth. I just wanted to stay on the couch all day, and I was just really sad. And I didn't know why, and honestly, I didn't even know that I had depression. I thought I just was really anxious. But I've come from that to now balancing my work life, my social life, seeing family, trying to be more balanced with my health and focusing on my wellness. So I went from very little self-care to making sure that self-care is a priority. And so sometimes when I have depression, it feels like it's a pit that I just can't get out of for that day. But I always remind myself that give it one sleep or give it 2 sleeps and I will feel better. And like I said, self-care and reaching out for help go a long way to feeling better, especially on those days. Obviously, Nick and I work together and we live together, so we're very intertwined with our lives. So when I'm having a really hard day, I've learned to express that to him, and he's normally been really amazing at thinking of activity we could go do, or just being extra kind and caring to me during those times, because that honestly makes all the difference. Number 4 is that I learned what disorders I actually have. I didn't realize that I had PMDD, generalized anxiety, and major depressive disorder. I would have not known unless I went to therapy. So that definitely is one thing that has helped me so far on this journey. It's definitely a fun mixture that makes life very interesting at times, but knowing that I have these things kind of makes it easier. Like being aware that there's nothing wrong with me. My brain just processes things a little bit differently, and maybe not as well as some other people in some situations, but there's some tools and some support that I can get to help me manage it, which has been so helpful. And I'm gonna keep coming back to self-care, because self-care has been such an important part of healing and getting better. And I think what self-care does for me is it makes the days easier to manage when I'm having a really heavy day or where I'm feeling really low, and I can just fall back into the routine of my my self-care, and I feel so much better. And also I've learned that mindfulness and vagus nerve stimulation are really powerful tools helping with anxiety and depression and all the other disorders that I have or whatever. They also really help if I have intrusive thoughts, so I've been trying to practice that. For some reason when I'm driving, I get really bad intrusive thoughts. It's kind of crazy. And so I talked to my therapist about it, and she said definitely go back to your breathing, go back to mindfulness, pull those tools out of the repertoire and just use those to work through it, and it's honestly really helped. So I definitely wanted to share that with you. Number 5 is that I have power and control over my life. I feel like sometimes depression can make you feel very hopeless and helpless at the same time. So it's been really helpful for me to focus on the things that I can control and try to let go of what I can't. And I know that's easier said than done, but I have been slowly telling people how I feel, making sure I push myself out of my comfort zone, being more assertive, and just really pushing through to do the things that I was anxious about doing before, because I have the power to do those things and I can. And just starting small is the best way that I know to do it. There was a time where I didn't want to leave the house in Jacksonville. It was kind of a scary time for me with my depression. So now moving back to Orlando, I've been going out on smaller trips, like making little trips to the grocery store to get back out there again, let my brain know that's okay, I can do this, I will get through it. And that's honestly also been such a huge help. Well, really these all have. This is my top 10 list. Number 6 is that even with therapy and medication, I still have to put in the work. For some reason, I thought that if I just went to therapy or if I just got medicated, I would immediately feel better and like all the problems would go away. It does help. Therapy is so helpful and medication is another helpful tool, but you really have to put in the work. Like I have to choose every day to get up and do my self-care and make sure that I make it a priority. So you really have to prioritize yourself and make sure that you are filling up your cup as much as you can. And I found that learning self-compassion, self-worth, self-care, all the good self stuff really comes in handy when I'm having hard days and when I feel like the therapy and the medication isn't enough to get me through that day. So I make sure that I do all these different tools that I've talked about in order to get through those hard days and even the easy ones. It's so easy for me to not do my routine when I'm feeling good because I'm like, oh, I'm better. I don't need to do all these things that I've been practicing. But no, that is the perfect time to continue doing them because it makes it even better when I am going through a low period. You really have to show up for yourself, and it looks so much different now how I show up for myself than I did a year ago. A year ago, my only criteria for showing up for myself was brushing my teeth and putting clothes on. That is the only thing I made myself do because that's all I could do, really. I mean, I would do cleaning and random tasks and blah, blah, blah. I did some YouTube, but it was really hard for me to do anything other than that. And now I'm balancing visiting multiple doctors, making sure my health is in check, cooking meals, spending time with my boyfriend, doing passion projects, getting out there, hanging out with friends, all of the stuff that was so hard for me and it felt impossible then, I'm able to do now, but it's been really slow getting there. I mean, technically it's been really fast if you think about it because it's only been a year, but I just took my little small steps and they really added up. Number 7 is a little bit sad to talk about, but I've learned about the abuse cycle and what that can look like in families and friendships and relationships. I've also learned what that can look like for those around me if they are in an abuse cycle and what I can do to help them. And I've talked to my therapist a lot about this, and the best thing I can do for the people in my life who are in the cycle is to empower them and let them know that they have a choice, they have power, and they can get through it. And for me, the best thing that I've done is taking myself out of those cycles because certain people are going to continue the cycle no matter what. And I have been better able to see the red flags, remove myself from those relationships, and just overall heal from those things that I didn't even realize I was going through. I feel like sometimes when you're in that cycle, it can feel like you're the problem because that's how they make it seem because that's part of the abuse cycle. So once you realize it's not you, it's easier to heal from it. That's what I've learned. I know this is touchy, so I don't want to get too in depth with it, but just know if you think you're going through something similar to what I've just talked about, definitely get help, reach out to your loved ones. They will love to help you. Number 8 is that I cannot do everything all the time. I used to be really, really hard on myself if I didn't get everything done. And I learned that my expectations for what I thought I could get done in the day were really high and impossible and not really achievable and not sustainable for multiple days in a row for the rest of my life. So I really had to reel it in. I make a list of everything that I need to get done that day. So if a bill needs to get paid, a work project I need to get done, dogs need to get walked and fed, played with, all that stuff. And then I put my list of things I would love to get done if I can. So maybe that's cleaning a certain area of my house or working on a passion project or whatever it may be. Having those 2 lists really helped. And a lot of that came down to realizing that I I don't have to be perfect all the time. I don't have to be perfect at all. I'm not performing for anybody, but I felt like I needed to be perfect at everything I did and put my heart and soul into absolutely everything. And you just can't do that all the time and feel good and make sure that you're getting your self-care. Like, you just can't do it all. So I've really reeled it in. I gave more of myself to less things, so I'm able to be more fulfilled, more intentional with my time, and I felt a lot better. And also another thing that's really helped with this is outsourcing tasks. Since I can't do everything, it's really helpful to outsource where you can. So we are very blessed that we've been able to hire a cleaner that has come to help us monthly. So I don't have to worry so much about all the stuff we have to get done at home. And if I could outsource my laundry to somebody, I would. I literally do laundry every day of my life. But just outsourcing where I can has been really helpful. Sometimes that means I do have to use the delivery apps for groceries, or Nick has to go do things for me. But we get it all done, and we're at the end of the day, have the same goal, just trying to live a happy, healthy life filled with purpose and intent and all the good things. And also just remind myself that there is only so many hours in the day. Like, truly. The ninth thing that I've learned, but very important, is that I don't have to earn rest. I don't have to go to the gym every day. I don't have to work every day. I don't have to study every day. I don't have to do YouTube every day to earn rest. And I felt like in the past, it was really hard for me to realize that rest is a good thing. It's not a weakness. Everybody has to rest. And it's so much easier to do now, like actually truly rest, because anytime I would rest before, I've been talking so much, I was like choking. No plastic, see? So like I was saying, I used to not actually rest. I would literally sit on the couch in my anxiety and I would feel terrible. I would feel terrible until I had to go do something, like another responsibility that had to get done. And so it was this constant cycle of feeling so drained and tired, not being able to actually rest. If I was resting, I felt so guilty. Like, I had this huge pressure on myself that I had to be doing productive things 24/7. And I don't know why. Nobody put that on me. Nobody told me I had to do that. I just felt that that's what a functioning person should do, but it's not. And I'm so glad I learned that I can rest and I can take it easy. Even if I've done nothing all day, I can still rest. And that's been so stress relieving. Number 10, and this is the most important, is that I matter and you matter. I lost sight of what was important to me for a long time. And this past year, I've really dived deep to see how life-changing it is to feel better and feel more like yourself. And that I matter, my needs matter, what I want matters, my voice matters. My friends and family think I matter. It's been really hard instilling that into myself and just letting myself know that I'm worth it and I matter. It's so hard, but that is my message to all of you. All of you are worth it. All of you matter. You matter to me more than you'll ever know. But seriously, like, it's been so life-changing to go through this process, and I can't wait to see where I get in a year. Maybe I make less progress than I did this past year, but honestly, it's been so amazing. And even though it's been hard and sometimes it's been really tough, I've had some days where all I could do was cry after therapy just because it was so heavy what we were going through, but I feel so much better now. Anyway, I did want to mention, because I talked about self-care so much in this video, I did recently do a blog post on my 30-day self-care journey, and I will link that down below for you guys. It was actually really fun to do. Definitely check it out. I show you everything that I did the past 30 days for my self-care for that day. And I also have tips and tricks for really easy and inexpensive self-care things, and just ideas if you need some inspiration. I hope this helped you. I hope you learned something. If not, I hope you just feel a little bit more connected to me than you did before. But anyway, I will see you all in the next one. Bye.